Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going back to work on our 2003 Dakota RT project. So today's plan is to replace the front upper and lower control arms here, along with the tie rods and tie rod ends. We'll also probably lube up the calipers, make sure they're not sticking since the truck's been sitting for a while. I did order an energy suspension bushing kit for this truck, but they said it's about 5 to 8 weeks away. So what I did was ordered brand new control arms, completely loaded. So they've got new ball joints on them, new bushings in them, which will help this truck drive a lot better. You can see that bushing is just torn up right there. And this thing is, it does not drive nice. So let's put it that way. So as soon as we're finished all the restoration stuff on this truck, then we can start the fun stuff. But let's get to this. So we're gonna get started here by removing the bolts for the caliper, hang that from the frame. They're just a 14 mil bolt. After that, we'll loosen off the sway bar end link. As you can see, that bushing is absolutely destroyed. And then take the ball joint bolts out, and we'll be able to separate the control arms and start taking this thing apart. Okay, now with the caliper off, the second thing I loosened off is the lower end of the sway bar link here. It's just a 15 mil nut right there. And now I think I'm ready to pop the castle nut here off of the front control arm and swap this guy out. All right, so after a bunch of fighting, we finally got the upper control arm out. So you just got to remove the cotter pin from the castle nut that holds the ball joint to the knuckle. Remove the castle nut there, and then there's two, I believe there were 17 mil bolts through here. The nice thing is you can get to the front one from up top. The back one you can't. Had to fight to get the back one off, but it's finally off. And here is our old control arm here. You can see the bushings are just wrecked. The ball joint probably sucks too. And then our brand new one. So we'll get to work getting this in, then start on the lower. All right, so we've got the driver's side completely apart. Not too bad of a job. We did have issues with this upper control arm bolt holding everything up. We got everything else unbuttoned, even the inner tie rods there. This is all the old stuff. It's just really beat up, guys. Super beat up. So I'm going to go grab a wrench to do the inner tie rod and start banging this back together, and then we'll knock the passenger side out. Hopefully after this, should drive like new. So the truck before, there was a bunch of play in the steering. It was always trying to turn right. Everything was clunking. And yeah, it just wasn't enjoyable to drive. So hopefully this is gonna tighten the whole front end right back up, but we'll show you guys when everything's done. All right guys, so there we go. New upper and lower control arms with new ball joints and bushings. New inner and outer tie rod ends. New steering rack boots on both sides. It's been a long day. I'm going home. I'll check in tomorrow. Okay, so it's actually not the next day, it is the next week. And the UPS guy has been busy. So we've got a ton of parts here that have arrived this week. So we've got the energy suspension bushing kit. Actually showed up 4 weeks earlier than the earliest they said it would show up. New rear parking brake shoes and a new O2 sensor, which will hopefully take care of that check engine light. And we can get the e-brake working again. Our competition engineering drag shocks front and rear from Summit. And then I picked this up earlier in the week, so this is a new steering shaft. So earlier on, we changed all the front suspension components. I've driven the truck a little bit this week and took it in for an alignment. It's still not all the way there. Everything was so far out and so new. They said to drive the truck a little bit and then take it in again. But the steering is still a little loose. So what we're going to do is, see if you guys can see this here. So there's part of it. If I can get it to focus. The steering shaft. So it's going to go from here to right down. There's another knuckle behind the front tire. So we're gonna jack the truck up, get the driver's side front tire off, get the wheel liner out, get that steering shaft changed over. Should be super easy. And today we're gonna just handle a couple of smaller things that are fairly easy. Like I think we'll do the sway bar bushings for the front. We'll do the drag shocks. And then I would also like to do the intake gasket here too. So let's get to work. All right, so there's our old steering shaft there, new one right beside it. Doesn't take long to do. Honestly, with the truck in the air, it maybe took me 5 minutes to get it out. Let me make this so you can see, hopefully. There we go, that's better. So, really easy, jack the truck up, and right underneath here, as long as the steering wheel's straight, you'll see the 1/2 mil bolt. Other than that, you get underneath the front of the truck and just right over top of the rack. And there's just a bolt that goes through each side of that. And you're good. So let's get the new one in and we'll check back in with you guys. All right, so there's the new steering shaft there. It's in. You can see there's a little 1/2 mil bolt there. And then it runs just down to on top of the steering shaft there. You can kind of see it poking out. So super easy to do. Didn't take long at all with it in the air. And all I did is just put some red Loctite on the bolts. You don't want those things coming loose. I mean, it's what holds your steering wheel to your front tires basically. And another thing to do when you do this as well, you do not want your steering wheel to spin or you will wreck your clock spring. So I just threw a seat belt through it just so it doesn't spin. So now that it's done, you can take that out. And oh yeah, that feels so much better. I can tell already. All the play is now gone, because what happens with these things is they've got U-joints in them, just like your drive shaft. They're actually a really common failure point on these trucks. They just wear out and get sloppy like this one here. So that's going to make a huge difference in steering feel. Next up, sway bar bushings, and we'll throw the drag shocks in the front. All right, so we've got the sway bar out of the truck, cleaned it up, just painted it real quick. So I'm waiting for that to dry. I pulled the driver front shock out here. So this is what was in there, and this is what we're putting in. So it's a 3-way adjustable competition engineering drag shock. So it's 90-10, 70-30, 50-50, and they're adjustable just by compressing the shock down and twisting it here. So right now the truck, low torque, heavy, not a lot of power. We put it on the 90-10 setting, so that's going to help transfer the most amount of power to the rear. Keep all the weight on the back of the truck, which will help with traction. We'll probably keep it like that as a bit during the build, and then start tuning the suspension setup as we're adding more power to the truck. But for now, got it set in the 90-10 setting, and this guy's got to go in here. All right, so the new drag shocks are in, and the cleaned up sway bar is right here. We've got the new energy bushings on it. We're going to bolt that up, bolt up the end links with the new bushings. And that should be it for the front suspension of this thing. Basically everything will be all new aside from the springs. There, you can see the shock there. Okay, so it looks like today's plan might have just changed. So the whole front suspension, everything's back together. We just pulled out the O2 sensor that's storing a code, and look at this. I have never seen anything like this in my life. If the camera will focus on it, look at that. The sensor is actually smashed in one side, which I've been having a feeling that these cats are going or collapsing or are clogged in this truck, because it doesn't even have a muffler on it and it's not even that loud. Seeing the sensor impacted by something definitely makes me think the cats are coming apart. So we got to get that Y pipe out of there and figure out something with the exhaust right now. Or throwing the new sensor in, it's just going to end up the same way. All right, so we ended up going back to the original plan. We were gonna do the Y pipe. Can't get any exhaust piping or anything today to do that. So we did take the manifold off here, and there it is. As you guys can see, everything's off. This little bolt in the front here though did break off in the head, so hopefully we'll be able to get that off. Coming to the actual manifold itself, it actually doesn't look like it's leaking underneath like I thought it would be. So normally, let me get this out in the light so you guys can see it. Now I don't know for sure yet because I haven't opened the belly pan plate here, but usually you'll see the gasket pushed out the side, and that's what ends up happening is oil starts leaking into the intake here. This actually looks pretty good, so I'll take it apart and take a look. The other gaskets though definitely didn't look fantastic, so still a good thing that we're doing this. But that's gonna do it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next week back with the Dakota.